Good morning, everybody, and I'm hoping that you are enjoying today's lecture so far, and you will find out a lot of interesting and useful information. I think it is really important that Cerebra put once a year a conference. There are lots of professionals presenting speech and topics, and there are a lot of parents come here as well. We always receive good feedback, and I hope that it will continue as it is so far. My name is Elmira Strange, and I'm working at Swansea Metropolitan University. I'm a senior researcher, and I'm working for Cerebra for several years now. I'm also doing my PhD, and it's all thanks to Cerebra. I have opportunity to do my PhD as well. So I've been asked to give a talk on behalf of Professor Anna Edworthy, who couldn't come today. But I will do my best, and hopefully you will enjoy it. So we're going to talk about stress. It's not a new topic, but it's a hot topic, and it's always been there. So what is stress? Stress is a process that happens when there is a difference between what you perceive as a pressure or stress and your individual ability to cope with stress. So the bigger the difference is, the more stress you might have. That's some interesting facts from occupational stress, which is related to work. You can think of 9-to-5 job. So 500,000 people in UK experience work-related stress that they believe is making them ill. I do think that figures actually should be higher than that, because I'm pretty sure that most of you can think of a case when you came home and thought, I have a headache or I have some digestive problem and it's all due to stress at work. Most people can say that, I'm pretty sure. So they think that about up to 5 million workers in the UK feel very extremely stressed, and it's about 13 million working days are lost to stress, depression and anxiety each year. Although I think it's quite difficult actually to get this fact right, because not everybody can admit that they had stress or depression because of work. Over 75% of illness may be stress-related. I do believe that might be true. Stress has been linked to all sorts of illnesses and diseases, from depression to cancer. And about over 50% of accidents have stress as a significant factor. So, if you think we were talking about 9-to-5 job, what is stress in carers? Carers, well, I'm doing research in my PhD at the moment, which actually looking at stress in families with children with neurodevelopmental disorders and conditions. And there is a question there which asks, if you're a parent or a carer, what level of stress do you experience from your caregiving role in general? So there are answers like mild level of stress, or no stress, mild level of stress, severe stress, and extreme stress. And the question is, where it was this question, start coming back to me now, and I already can say that it's about 90% of respondents, 90% of parents indicated that they are severely or extremely stressed. And most of these, or at least half of these parents, they don't work 9-to-5. It's 24/7 care. So, according to Carers UK, what is like being a carer? So they say it's unpaid care when you look after an ill, frail, or disabled family member, friend, or partner. They also say that carers give so much to society, yet as a consequence of caring, they experience ill health, poverty, and discrimination. And unfortunately, it is the case with many families. And last year, I interviewed around 12 families who can pinpoint that is either ill health, poverty, discrimination, or three. They all experience that. All right, that's some facts which we mentioned earlier. So caring is often 24/7, it's not 9-to-5 job, and they do receive little support and experience high levels of stress. So generally, we all respond differently to stress. So, and not everyone will have some health problems because of stress, although I think most people will have. And this will depend on their stress management skills. How much do you know about stress? How much do you know about your own stress? What's causing you stress? What you can do to reduce your daily stress? Do you take time away from your either caregiving duty or your job at least once a week or an hour each day? What do you do? What's your stress management skills? What's your primary appraisal? How do you perceive stress? When something happens, when, for example, well, if you think from the point of a parent who needs to make an appointment to see a specialist, and it's very difficult to see the specialist because either there is a lack of therapy in the area, in the local area, or there is a long waiting list. How do you perceive that? How do you appraise that stressor? Would it be very stressful? Would it be very challenging? Or would it be, okay, I got used to it, I can deal with it? So that will depend a lot on that. Your locus of control, how much control do you have over that stressor? Can you do anything about it? Your social networks, your family, friends, how much support do you get from others? And your personality. Maybe you're familiar with personalities type A and type B, where type A is extremely driven and wants to do everything in a short period of time. And there is a personality type B who is more relaxed, who take life a bit easier than personality A. So their coping strategies will be very different. So at Swansea Metropolitan University, our Cerebra research unit found so far that stress factors can be grouped under those headings, and we'll look at them separately. So there are parents' fears, relationships with professionals, family and friends, child-centered issues, support, the employers, and practical problems. So the first one is the parents' fears. And from my own research, which I was doing last year and this year as well, many parents indicated that the major fear, or the fear number one, is about a future for their child. When the child grows up, and if he or she has neurodevelopmental condition or disorder, yeah, she might be 25, maybe 35 when she'll be older, but she might be a child inside. So she needs a care. Whatever the age she is or he is, they need a care. So what's going to happen with parents when they become elderly, when they can't cope, when they can't look after the child like they used to, when they have health problems, or when they're not here anymore? Who's going to take care of this child? There is another thing. Last year I was doing research on communication with children who cannot speak. They cannot speak because of disability. And I was looking at communication strategies between parents and these children and what they do to understand each other. And it's amazing. I've learned a lot, because some children, they're unable to speak. They're unable to produce even sounds. It's amazing. But the parent, they find all sorts of ways of communicating with this child and bringing pictures and using sign language and trying to recognize sounds and grunts from the child, and even eye movements or anything like that to communicate. However, a lot of parents say that there are many, many times where I can't understand what this child is trying to say to me. I can't understand if she's or he's in pain, if she's happy, or if she's lonely. So I'm afraid I can't understand when the child is in pain and she needs help, and I can't provide that. There is also parents' fear or worry about behavior of general public when they're out and about with a child. Because many children have challenging behavior, what's called challenging behavior, where this behavior, it cannot be controlled. It looks like as if a child has a difficult behavior just because it's a difficult child. Public is not aware, often is not aware that it is a problem. So before going out, these parents have to consider all these things, whether the child will behave appropriately in public. And also, parents are not afraid, but worry about their own stress levels, about the lack of sleep, about their fatigue, and whether they will become ill because they can't sleep, because they are stressed. And then again, who will care for the child? Professionals, they are a great source of support, but they are also a great source of stress for many parents. And it continues and continues. Professor Anne Edworthy did her research about 10 years ago, and this was number 2, this relationship with professionals as a source of stress. And I have to say, my research shows the same, and I wish it was different. It starts from the diagnosis, when the diagnosis is being given, because professionals have only so many minutes to spare for the parent. They will give them a diagnosis, like autistic spectrum disorder, and the parent thinking, what's that? I never heard of that even. What's the symptoms? What is child going to do? How it's going to live? What support it needs? They don't know anything. What about practical support? What about benefits or anything like that? So what to do now? But professionals often don't have time. So the parents have to go home, and if they're lucky, if they have internet, if they think they know where to find information, they will be doing it themselves. And thanks to some organizations like Cerebra, there is a lot of information you can find on the websites. But if the parent doesn't have time, doesn't have facilities like internet, it might be problematic. Issues relating to family and friends, I think I better hurry up, otherwise I'll run out of time. Family and friends, it's also an interesting thing, because sometimes they're a great source of support, but sometimes there is a lot of misunderstanding, miscommunication, and a lot of families pretty much fall apart even when the child has diagnosis. From my experience with families, what happens is aunties and grandparents, they don't know what to do. They see this child, they know it's disabled. They don't know what to do about it. They don't know what's the symptoms. And like previous speaker said, it's an elephant, isn't it? It's an elephant in the room where nobody really talks about it. So, I have to say that I had a big impact last year when I was interviewing parents, and I've met a woman, and she's a mother of 3 sons, 3 little boys, and 2 of them have autism. It's very, very difficult for her. They don't sleep at night. They have challenging behavior. They scream, and on and on. It's very difficult. She lives on her own. Her mother lives in a different city, so she doesn't have support. She's from another country originally, so she doesn't have distant family either. So her husband left her when the first boy was diagnosed. So she lives on her own. She got a part-time job, not because she needs to sort of think, well, again, she needs to because her stress levels are so high, so this part-time job gives her a bit of a breather. So when I was interviewing her, she said that she lives like a military. She said it's an everyday drill. There is nothing different. She said, I know what I have to do. I don't have spare minutes. And she said, and you know, she said, I'm a religious woman. And she said, if I didn't believe in God, I probably wouldn't be here. That's how I feel. So that really impacted me. I was shaking in the car when I came out from her house. Also, difficulty devoting time to other family members. A lot of parents feeling guilty because they don't have enough time for everybody after they devoted time to the child. Of course, it brings some strain on the relationship with the spouses. And we know from research a lot of families fall apart and husbands left and just relationships couldn't carry on anymore. They get criticism from family members how it's supposed to do, how parents have to look after their children and so on. There is also child-centered issues like lifting and handling worries. If you think in hospital, it requires 2 people to lift a person when they need to do that. Well, in family, it's normally just the one parent. It's probably mum. And if she's got some problems, like back problems or anything like that, then this becomes a major problem. Also, of course, about medicine, therapies. If mum has to perform anything at home, and she sees the child in distress when she has to perform some of these medicines, it becomes very, very distressing for both. Worry over child safety, a lack of opportunity to socialize with our children. Level of support, like we mentioned before, and also, for example, there is a lack of knowledge about benefits and support because doctors don't give everything like a pack. Here you are, if this is the diagnosis, here everything you need to know from now on, including financial situation and what to do with financial situation and therapies and so on. Financial disadvantage and debt, like I said, many parents have that. And the issue of filling in forms which are complex, which are often complex. The apparent unfairness of the system, depending on where you live, in which area, you will have accessibility to therapies in that area or not that, including schools, including special therapies. From employers, there is a lack of understanding from employers if the parent is in employment. There's a lack of empathy, not only from employees, but also from colleagues at work. But those who are not in employment, and that's what often happens, they are at home, and they can feel isolated and lonely. And there are practical problems. Taking a child on holiday, especially if the child's got a wheelchair or any specific requirements. Transport, taking a child to medical appointments. Suitable childminders, babysitters who needs to be trained specially. So you can't take just anybody. And who is going to care for the child when mom is ill? The child often goes into care. So, as you can see, the issue is still there. The stress is enormous, and we do what we can through research. And the research feeds to Cerebra, main source, and Cerebra produce all sorts of publishing books, leaflets to help parents. I know they're working on creating little videos now that will be accessible to parents as well. So we do what we can. But we also try to bring awareness to professionals as well whenever we can through free lectures or anything like that. So, and this is our research activities at our university, which we are engaged in. Some of them successfully accomplished, and we produced some research. We produced even leaflets. So, stress, the first one was actually 10 years ago, and the last one is mine, which is still now. So that's what I mean. So, although it's an old topic, it's always a hot topic. So, well, thank you very much.